Hi, everybody. Today is the 21st of December, the shortest day of the year. And I know, especially as I stand next to our memory tree here and I see names written on doves of people that are not celebrating Christmas with us this year, it reminds me how so many families are wanting to celebrate this year but having a rough time because they're missing somebody they love. This particular year, as it's the second year of Christmas during pandemic, there is a lot of other stuff out there that is distracting us, that is pulling us away from perhaps the joyous part of the season that we would prefer to be in. There is so much grief around us, not just of lives lost, of things that we've lost in terms of memories or activities that we've had to say no to, things that we haven't been able to do, the ways our lives have changed in many ways that we're not happy about. Some of those changes aren't so bad. Being able to attend a meeting in your pajamas, not such a bad thing necessarily. But there does seem to be some contrast, at least from where I stand, from where I sit, where the ways that we celebrate Advent with the lighting of the candles, it's so orderly. And first we light one, and then 2 candles, and 3 and 4, and eventually the Christ candle, and it all just seems like it just happens. It's just supposed to happen this way. Everything happens in order, and it's beautiful, and we sing more and more Christmas songs. But that's not really at all how it originally went. Originally, the birth of Christ was kind of a mess. It was unplanned, and aside from Mary being pregnant and knowing there would be a baby at some point, there was a lot about the way that happened that probably wasn't the way Mary would have wanted it to go. There's something about a baby, with all of its needs, with all of its just practicality. It needs to eat, sleep, and go potty. And that's pretty much it for the first several months of a person's life. And there's something about that intense practicality that I think sometimes we forget during Christmas. We get caught up in all of our plans. We get caught up in our shopping lists and our checklists, our to-do lists. Have we gotten a present for everybody? Have we spent enough money on, equal money on the kids? Have we done everything just right? Do we have the decorations right? Do we have the music right? Do we have the food right? And we sometimes forget about just the practicality that a child, a Christ child, a baby brings to us. I have a short reading here. You might have seen I'm waving a book around. This is a series of meditations on Advent from a wonderful 20th century African-American theologian named Howard Thurman. He was one of Dr. King's mentors. And he wrote this: "The important thing is that to the mother of Jesus, he was a baby boy who grew hungry, who had to be fed, bathed, nurtured, who had to be given tender, loving care. One who pulled at her heartstrings and who became so much a part of her sense of worth and meaning that she was sure, in a sense, that this was the first baby in the world." And perhaps every mother feels, particularly about her first baby, that this is the first, that this is the original baby, and this can be understood. The story of Christmas has a certain very simple human thing in it, which appeals to my kind of mind and spirit: a family. A man, a woman, a child, animals, simple surroundings, the primary family unit. There is always the possibility that the first steps in love, in trust, in confidence can be measured, developed, expanded. So that when we think of Christmas, let us think of it as a time when we remember the graces of life. It is important to seize upon the atmosphere created during this period, to let it tutor our own spirits in kindness and in imaginative sympathy. Thus, we may be able to give ourselves freely to the babies in our midst, to sustain them in their growth into youth and maturity. We must do our part to guarantee that all children may have the chance to be children, to experience their own childhood. If this does not happen to them, they will be forced to deal with their environment as if they were adults. There can be no good future for humankind if this sensitivity to the birth and meaning of the child that we see in Christmas is ignored. So whether or not you have children around you this time of year, we all have been around children at one point or another. We know the immediacy that they call us into. What needs to be done right now? All the other stuff will fall in one way or another. But just remember the basics. Remember the graces that Christmas calls us into, the graces of those practical needs. And may that spirit surround you today and throughout Christmastide. Merry Christmas.